All right. So if you're anything like me, you are super overwhelmed with all of the different tech and tools that are coming out for cold email and just outbound and sales in general. There is so much stuff around AI and all the different hacks and all these different things that you can use to improve your workflow, automate different things, and basically generate you more ROI. And if you're anything like me, you get really excited by all of these tools, but then it becomes incredibly overwhelming because you hear of a new tool, you test it out, and you kind of end up going down loads of different rabbit holes. And it's good to test, but it's also good to find something that works for you. And then continuously iterate on those things, as well as find something that is, profitable and doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. So in this video, I'm going to go through what I use for my tech stack and then give options as well as run through the pricing so that you can understand that if you're setting up your own cold outbound for your agency or software company and you want to understand the costs involved of setting something like this up with the tech that you could use, then here is all the tech that I use and the costs associated. So I'll give you everything and break everything down. And then if you stay to the end, I'll also share this specific template as well that you can use, and you've got all of the links and everything all in one place, so it's much easier for you to actually find and use this information. So what kinds of tech are there for cold email in general? And the people that this is for is if you're looking to grow, expand, or start your cold emailing. You've heard about it, you found it online, but you're overwhelmed with all the different choices of all the different tech you could use, or just looking for new nuggets of information that you can use so that you can improve your cold outbound. This video is for you, and I'll run through everything. So if you're in that position, what kinds of tech are there for cold emails? There's email sequencing tools. So this is basically the tools that will allow you to sequence things from email number 1, email number 2, email number 3, and so on and so forth, and it will automate largely that whole process. You've got data tools, so databases, enrichment tools, things like that. You've got email finders and verifiers. You've got CRMs, and then you've obviously got the domain hosting and domain setup. So let's start with email sequencing tools. I have used a fair few, but these are the ones I've used the most. So Instantly, in my opinion, the two best ones from this are Instantly and SmartLead. Instantly is $97 a month and SmartLead is $94 a month. Now, the great thing about these two in comparison to, say, for example, Lemlist and Apollo, these are still worthy of mentioning, but I've not used them as much. I've used them, but not that much. The main difference and the best thing about these is they have unlimited email accounts that you can send from. So that means you pay $97 a month and you can set up 100 plus whatever emails that you want from that one account. Whereas if you wanted to do the same for Lemlist, you're charged per seat. Per seat is per email user or email address. Now, they're in the process of changing this, I believe, but it's still a bit of a pain. So just wanted to give you an FYI in terms of that. But with all of these tools, you get all the same metrics of like open rate, deliverability, response rate, clicks, things like that, everything that you would need. You have a whole analytics dashboards, everything like that. I'm not going to go into detail of every single tool. I'm going to give you an overview here, but the ones I would use would be either Instantly or SmartLead. They're the main two. They're going to cost you around $100 a month. They all have like a master inbox, so you set up multiple different domains. It will send off like, 10 emails from this one, 10 emails from this one, 10 emails from this one. Any responses will go into a master inbox, and you can reply from there to every single email that you get. And the best thing is, like I said, you can set up unlimited inboxes. In terms of distinguishing between the two, it's really just down to your preference, personal preference. Pretty much the same price point, direct competitors. It's just down to whatever your preference is in terms of UI and things like that. I personally prefer the UI of Instantly, but I think SmartLead just has a little bit more functionality that I need at the moment. However, I may be switching back to Instantly pretty soon. So just as an FYI, that's email sequencing tools. The next thing is data and data providers. So we've got Apollo, we've got SalesNav, Clay, which isn't necessarily a data provider, more of a data amalgamator. I don't know if that's the right word, but anyways, we'll use that. We've got Ocean, we've got Crunchbase, Store Leads, Instantly Lead Finder. There are so many others like ZoomInfo, Seamless, Lusher. There's a million and one. I won't go through every single one because otherwise the video will be super, super long. But these are some of the ones that I've used in the past or very recently. My favorite by far is Apollo. With Apollo, you get 10,000 verified contacts. So when I say verified contact, it is basically something that Apollo has verified themselves. So for example, if you're searching for founders of SaaS companies in the UK, then you could pull a list, and in that list, it will say the ones that have their emails as verified. you'll be able to scrape and export 10,000 of those leads using tools like, for example, Instant Data Scraper. And then you can, so you're able to, for just $50 a month, you're able to get 10,000. However, what I would say, one caveat with that is you want to make sure that you are verifying those emails afterwards by using an email verifier. Just because Apollo says it's verified, but it doesn't actually mean it's verified. And what I found is it tends to be about the 60-70% of the data that Apollo has is good. The emails are good, but 20 to 30% isn't so good. So if you export a list of 10,000, you'll probably have about 7,000 of those that have actual good email addresses that you can send to, whereas the other 3,000 will be like risky or catch-alls or things like that. So you don't want to send to those, and you want to make sure that you're putting it through an email verification tool. But still, for the value for money that you get for $49 a month, it's pretty damn good. If you run out and go over 10,000, then just set up a separate Apollo account. Even if you pay more and get 99, or you upgrade and things like that, it ends up just being cheaper to set up a separate account. If you've got loads of emails, just set up a separate account. It's way easier. So that's Apollo, my favorite by a mile. And if you're just getting started, probably the best one that you could use, just because it has really good data coverage, lots of different filters, like loads of different filters, pretty good up-to-date data. The only maybe downside is a lot of people use Apollo because it's lower barrier to entry. So it means that the people on Apollo are probably getting a lot of emails. So that just means you've got to stand out more with the copy that you're using. But just as an FYI, cool. Next, we've got SalesNav, which is basically where all of these other places get their data from, and just resell it to you or repackage it in a different way, most of them anyways. It's $80 a month. The issue with SalesNav is you cannot export properly. You also cannot find their emails on SalesNav. So you're going to have to use and integrate it with another tool like FindEmail, Prospeo. These are extensions that I use, and so on and so forth. And you have to scrape the leads from there, and then you'll have to enrich them to find their email addresses. Excuse me. So Sales Navigator is great for building a big list, but then you have to find the emails from those people on the list. And the data you get on SalesNav is probably the best data that you'll find, just because they're the ones that basically store a lot of the data and build the data in the first place. So yeah, for $80 a month, it's pretty good, but you have to use and integrate it with another tool to find email addresses, so it may actually add up to a lot more money than just $80 a month. Now, my favorite, other than Apollo, is Clay. Clay isn't necessarily a data provider. It pulls data from lots of different data providers. So you've got Clay in the middle, and then it will pull data from SalesNav, Apollo, Store Leads, all of these different data providers, Google, everything like that, and it will have all of the data in one place. So you can query different data and you can do different data searches, and it will basically use its own API and pull the data from all these different places. And you can enrich it, you can find people's email addresses, you can do all sorts in there, and it's pretty damn cool. You can also integrate it with AI, or it is integrated with AI and ChatGPT. So you can do research at scale, you can do Google searches, lots of different things. I won't go into full detail just because it deserves its own separate video, and I'll make lots of videos around Clay. But in terms of the pricing, it can be a little bit more expensive. So you're looking at about $150 for 1K credits. So 1K, like if you find 1K emails, that'll be 1K credits. So it's like 1 credit per verified email. $349 for 10K credits, and then 850K credits. So yeah, a little bit more expensive, but it's very useful. You can also combine it with, say, for example, SalesNav, or you can combine it with like Crunchbase, pull and scrape the data from one of these, and then put it into Clay to enrich it to find email addresses. Or you could actually build the entire list in Clay because it links up to Sales Navigator, it links up to Apollo with APIs and things like that. And you can build out the entire list within Clay. Again, I'll make more videos on Clay in the future, but for now, that's also another tool to kind of act as almost a data provider to a certain extent. You've also got Ocean. Ocean is cool, and how it's different is it works based on lookalikes. So if you've got a company that is a previous client or an ideal customer, you can actually input that company in there into Ocean, and it will find companies similar to that, and then you can actually like filter down based on that. You can add in more similar companies, and then it will basically refine its search. It's really good at that, and that is its USP, and that is what it focuses on. However, it is quite expensive. It's like several $1,000s a month. So if you've got the money for it, great, and you want to do that. If not, then maybe look at some of the other providers. You've also got Crunchbase, which is good for like investment-related things, tech specifically. That's $99 a month. But again, you'll probably have to export it and you might have to enrich it in Clay. So you'll probably have to use like two different things, which is again why I always revert back to Apollo in terms of being the best value for money, because you can get everything all in one. You've also got store leads, which is good for e-commerce. $250 is like their middle pricing range, but I think you get unlimited searches with that. So that's very good for if you're looking for e-com businesses and D2C. Another one here that I've used recently is Instantly Lead Finder. You get 10K emails and verified contacts for 197. So it's basically like 3 times the price, 4 times the price of Apollo. But 10K if you are pushing them straight from Instantly Lead Finder into Instantly. You get 10K verified emails, right? And the great thing about this as well is you can actually directly so this is part of Instantly. You can do a list search, like build a list, and then push it directly to a campaign. It'll verify the email, so actually verify it properly, not just like pseudo verified. It'll verify the email so you don't have a good high bounce rate. It'll push it into the campaign so you don't have to basically leave the platform. So it's good in that sense if you want to have a lot more like automated and less manual approach than like scraping, building a list, scraping it, exporting it, importing it, uploading CSVs and things like that, and verifying everything. If you want everything all in one place, it could be pretty good, but it is again just a little bit steeper at 197. So it just depends. And if you use Instantly, then fantastic. If you don't, then it's probably worth maybe getting Apollo instead. But if you use Instantly, then I would probably connect it with Instantly Lead Finder, because then you can just push everything from one campaign to the next. However, there is also a benefit of having Clay as part of that workflow, because you can use that to do research on companies utilizing AI. Again, whole separate video, but I just want to give you guys some insights on this stuff and like how I use this. So yeah, these are some of the options in terms of data providers. There's loads more like ZoomInfo, Lusher, Seamless. There's 1,000,001, but yeah, too many for this video. Then we got email finders and verifiers. So email verifier is extremely important. The best one that I like is Dbounce, because it integrates with Clay. So I can use their API with Clay. It's quite literally just $15 for 10K. And then obviously it gets discounted as you go up. And obviously you need this. You cannot send emails without verifying. Otherwise, you're just going to get a super high bounce rate. So don't trust what any of these providers say. The only one I would trust a little bit more is Instantly Lead Finder, just because I do think they've built in like an actual verification tool into their lead database. So when they say it's verified, it's actually been verified against that. So there's that. Million Verify is another one, but again, it doesn't integrate with Clay per se. So it's you have to export it, import it, and things like that. But similar price to Dbounce, those are ones that I've used. There's loads of others like Never Bounce and Zero Bounce and things like that. But again, it's just up to you in terms of preference, but just make sure you use it. These are just to give you an idea of what can be used. CRMs, HubSpot, Pipedrive, or Airtable. Airtable is not necessarily a CRM. It's more a database. However, I have used it as a CRM. I quite like it just because of the UI. I really dislike the UI of HubSpot. However, it is free, and it integrates with Smart Lead, so it works pretty well in terms of what I need it for. You can obviously see your pipeline, and it syncs and integrates directly. If these tools don't integrate with your email sequencing tool, you can always set up an integration through Zapier, which is why I put other tools and extra tools that you can use as part of your tech stack. So you could do that, but then there's a little bit of like configuration setting up with API, and it gets a little bit more complicated. There could be things like duplicate leads and things like that might be a bit of an issue. But if you want simple integration, HubSpot directly to Smart Lead. Otherwise, you're probably looking at like some kind of API connection to connect like Pipedrive or Airtable or Salesforce or any other one to your email sequencing tool. You can also use Clay. But in order to integrate the CRM, you're looking at like $800 a month. So again, if you've got less of a budget, probably not going to be good for you. So those are CRMs. I shouldn't really need to go into detail why you need a CRM, but you just need to make sure that you know who your leads are, where they are in the pipeline, for people that have responded. And when you've actually got enough leads, you'll definitely 100% need a good CRM to keep track of everything. Next is domain setup. So it's just like hosting. You can use GoDaddy, you could use Squarespace domains, you could use Namecheap, you could also use Outlook as well. I personally use either Namecheap or Squarespace, but GoDaddy is also just as good. Namecheap is the cheapest, like $1 to $10 per domain. Squarespace is always about $10 per domain, and GoDaddy is about $10 per domain. I think Squarespace is actually like $12 per domain. So give or take, it's all around the same. If I was doing the setup, you would want to set up around 10 domains, two emails per domain, 2 to 3 emails per domain. But in this case, we would be sending 20 emails per day, per 20 emails per day per email address, basically. So in total, you would be able to send 400 emails per day, which would be about 10k emails per month for 25 days of the month. And the total setup cost for something like that might be 50 to $100, depending on if you get it on Namecheap or Squarespace. And then the monthly running cost would be like $140, because if you're using Google Workspace, for example, it's about $7 per user for the standard. So 20 emails, then that's 7 times 20, 140. So you're looking at about $140 a month for 20 email addresses total. That's 10 domains, 2 emails per domain, and each one of those email addresses is sending 20 emails per day. And that's how much it would cost you to have the initial setup plus the monthly running cost as well. One quick note on this is if you're setting up the Squarespace domains, the SPF DKIM is already set up. You only need to set up DMARC. But if you're setting up GoDaddy or Namecheap, then you'll need to set up DMARC, DKIM, and SPF. There are ways to automate this through Make and other automation tools, but again, won't go into detail with that. So those are the main costs and the main tools. There are other tools that you can use as part of your tech stack, which don't necessarily correlate exactly with cold email, but kind of like help enhance the whole experience. You've got Zapier if you want to do any automations or workflows or anything like that. So if you're using Instantly, but you want to push leads to, I don't know, HubSpot or Salesforce or whatever it is, whatever your CRM is, then you need to set up an integration through Zapier. Calendly for just calendar bookings. I usually put my calendar in, for example, Notion doc, and I'll send that out, and then that's how I get my meetings booked, and for clients as well. And then, excuse me, then I've got Slack for communication with clients. I think Slack is just, I don't know why anyone would use Discord. I just think Discord's for kids and for gamers. But anyways, Slack. And then if you want to use a website, I personally use Webflow, but you can also use like Card and things like that. Card is the cheapest one if you want the cheapest way of getting set up. It's basically just a series of landing pages that you can use. I think it is quite literally like $15 for the entire year. So if you want to do that, Webflow is I think like $24 a month or 20 something bucks a month. So yeah, not much. ChatGPT, if you want to use that, that's like $25 a month, whatever it is. So in total, the cost of setting all of this up and to be able to send 400 emails per day, so you're looking at 10K emails per month, the minimum is probably going to be around $300, right, for the minimum. But if you start adding things like Clay, you start adding like automations and all this kind of stuff and get a bit more complicated, then you're probably looking at anywhere from like, say, obviously from 300 all the way up to maybe like $1,000 a month, right? Then if you start adding even more, then you're looking at way more cost. But you can 100% get a good cold outbound machine going that sends 400 emails per day, and then you can work out the costs, right? So for example, the reason why I've gone with 400 is because that's 10K a month, and that links very nicely with, setting up like Apollo, for example. But if you want to send more, you want to send 20 or 30K, you'd have to buy 2 Apollo accounts or 3 Apollo accounts, and then the cost would add up like that, right? But I'm just doing this as a bare minimum. So 400 emails a day, 10K emails a month, you're looking at, $300 a month minimum for the domains, for the emails, and for the sequencing and for the data and verifying. But if you want to expand out and you want to get a bit more complicated, you're looking at probably like $600 plus a month if you want to get like Clay and all this other stuff. I would highly recommend Clay and invest in doing that. But that's just to give you an idea and understanding of how much it would cost to do this. The best thing about this as well is you can probably set up like all of these campaigns and have just one person managing it, which means to generate meetings on repeat for $300 a month, maybe up to $1,000 a month, is a pretty damn good deal, considering that if any of those meetings close, you're probably looking at anywhere from like a couple thousand all the way up to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 in terms of average order value or contract value. So it's pretty damn worth it to learn how to do this. And if you do want to learn more, then I've got either more videos on my YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter. I've also got a newsletter that I'm just starting up, which I'll be sending out a couple of emails a week, just giving tips, insights on things that's working for myself with cold email, from either myself for getting clients or my clients getting clients. It's a client meta thing. So yeah, if you want that, then link is in the description. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it's valuable and gives you an understanding of some of the tools that you can use and how you can set up, and then also how much it costs. And then yeah, I mean, just work backwards from the numbers. If you're sending 400 emails a day, then you could probably, even if your emails are really shit, you could at least get like a couple of meetings a week. So as long as your emails are somewhat targeted. But if you need more help with that, then I also offer a completely done for you solution where we set up all of your campaigns, emails, everything like that to your copy and launch the campaigns and get your meetings. So if you're interested in that, I will also leave my calendar below. And yeah, thanks for your time. Speak soon. Peace. Bye.